Moving on to topic 1, Kelvin.
Okay.
Switch Pro Who? Introducing the Onexplayer handheld console. What is it? What is? You saw pictures of it. You're like, that looks like a Switch.
Yeah.
The Onexplayer is a name of device that combines Windows and Intel 11th Gen chips to bring a handheld console that looks very similar to the Switch. It releases in June. Now, I'm going to read to you guys the specs of this thing. Okay. If you're listening, it is literally a console, a handheld console. It looks like a Switch. It's orange and black. It has an 8.4-inch screen, right? It's using the 11th core Intel chips. The graphics card, it has a graphics card in it, which is the Iris Xe graphics. So no major big graphics card, but I guess enough to power it. It has 16 gigs of RAM. It has a M2 280 gigs of SSD, so that's not terrible. Its resolution is 1440. Pretty good, right?
It's really good, yeah.
What else here? It has
a cube, so it has a USB-C port, USB.
Yep, it has
4.0.
speakers. Yep, it has a kickstand.
Robert's gone. Okay, I'll continue this. It has a kickstand, like he said. It has a magnetic keyboard, which is pretty dope. I think that's pretty sick. Wi-Fi capability. It has the battery life is 20 volt, 3.25 amps, 65 watts, which is all right. Whatever. It's not that great. Yeah. And then, like I said, it has a USB-C 4.0, two of them, and it has a USB-C 3.0, which is pretty cool. And it looks like Rob's back. There you go. Cool.
I'm back. Yeah, so that was a technical difficulty right there. That's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, I just kind of went over most of the specs there. So, and it runs Windows 10, which is crazy.
Yeah. So how much is it? It is $800. It starts at $819 and goes up to about $1499 for this thing. Right, depending on what chip you get, what you could get i5, you could get i7.
Yep.
Kelvin, is this something you could be interested in?
Very much so, actually. This seems pretty cool. So you told me about this, and I'm like, hey, Kelvin, check this out. Like, this is cool. I'm like, all right. Like, what is it? I'm like, what the hell? A Onexplayer? Like, that sounds weird. I don't like this. The name of this. First of all, I think it sounds kind of like bland, but. Looking at the specs here, I think it's pretty cool, and you literally have a mini PC in the palm of your hands, like not even like a laptop per se. Like you're playing a full-fledged PC game in the palm of your hands. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it has like a lot of features that we would like, and you can play games from like Apex to whatever you're playing, Call of Duty possibly. You know what I mean? This looks cool. I think the battery life is pretty bad in this, right?
I mean, it's a tablet. It's not a tablet, but it's almost like a tablet.
It's a gaming console, It's a portable gaming console.
It's more of like, in the specs of like battery life, it's more in the realm of like laptop battery life, right? Like
sure, but yeah, exactly. Because by the time you finish a game in Apex, you're probably done with the battery life. Like you probably have to recharge it.
Exactly. So it's like it defeats the purpose of it being portable.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
Because those graphics are going to consume all the battery life and the OS and all that stuff, right? So,
yeah,
is this a Switch Pro substitute?
I don't think so. I'm impressed with the specs. I'm impressed with what it's capable of, but I don't think it's gonna do anything in the market. To be honest, I don't think a lot of people are gonna go for it. This is the first time I heard of it. You know what I mean? This is coming out in June. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's catching any steam right now. What do you think?
I'm gonna ask you, what do you think is the number one thing that's like really hurting this thing?
The price.
Nope.
Yeah, you don't think the price is hurting that? You think people are gonna spend $819 on that?
Okay, before we go into price, the name.
All right, yeah. I mean,
The
I said that in
name,
the
I don't
beginning. The
even.
name is atrocious, but like,
Yeah, the
I
one
thought
player
this was a
X. Like, who
placeholder
named it?
though.
A 10-year-old? A 10 year
I
old
th-
named that?
I
You
thought
know?
this was a placeholder. Like I thought when you first showed me this was something that was still being like developed. I didn't think it was coming out so soon. So I thought, oh, this is a placeholder name, but this is coming out soon. This is the name. This is it. I personally think the name is terrible, but
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, to each their own.
it's an awful name, and the price. Again, you're not. We have to remember that this thing is a PC.
Yeah,
It's not. They actually have like a keyboard you could buy for it.
yeah,
There's a keyboard. It,
yeah.
it costs like $40. So it's
Magnetic
really
keyboard. Yeah,
so when you look at the price, yes, it's expensive because you're comparing it to a Switch, but think you could do Word documents, you could watch videos, you know what I mean? So it's like it could do more than a Switch.
sure. I just don't see people going like if you have a Switch and you're content with it and you have a PC. I don't see you going for this, to be honest.
This is for a particular person.
Yeah,
right?
a particular
for
person.
the masses. Right?
No, not at all. And also it's huge. Like if you actually see this thing in the palm of your hands, it's
big.
massive. It's not a portable. It's portable, but not really. Barely. It's barely portable.
Doesn't fit in your pocket, and you can't like take off like the controllers like you could on the Switch and stuff like that. Like it's stuck on there.
It's not convenient. I think that's the big thing. It's not a very convenient gaming console. Gaming handheld. So I don't know. I just don't think this is gonna fly off the shelves, to be honest.
Like I said, I think it's cool if you got like money to burn. You like want to try it out and like this is cool out, and it does play games at 60 frames per second. It plays all the major titles at 60 frames, which is like solid for that little thing. But then again, do you want?
This reminds me of the Vita, right? Where I feel like it's like
Vita on steroids. Is that what?
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is I feel like it's ahead of its time. I think for something this massive and so much tech and I think it's way too much right now, right? I think people right now are looking for more convenient things like the Switch. The Switch is a perfect thing, or the perfect handheld where you can play pretty decent games. Now they're starting to have third-party games and you can play them at a pretty decent rate, frame rate, and spec wise is decent, right? And the convenience of it, just taking it from like handheld to TV, like it's great. This right now, I don't see this. I just can't see this, catching on right now. The Vita was the same way, where I feel like it was ahead of its time, and it had all the tech and specs and everything that people like me, you and I would love, but for an average Joe, it's like, yeah, I just want to play games. This is too expensive. Like, why am I buying like this cartridge and then I have to buy like the memory card? It's expensive as hell. Like, there's just too much involved in that part, right?
Whereas the Nintendo Switch, you just get out of the box and you're ready to play.
Yeah, and I feel like this, like, if you want the full package, you have to pay a pretty penny, almost $1,000, and then if you want the keyboard accessory, like it adds up. So although it's cool, I will say it's dope, especially if you look at it. It's sick. I don't think it's gonna do anything for the market.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's just, again, it's a special. It's for a special person, right? It's for someone that's not me or you. It's not for everyday Joe, right?
No, nope.
But speaking of Switch Pro, do you think that Nintendo is gonna unveil it this E3?
I can see it happening. Yeah, I can see it happening. I'm gonna go with yes. All right.
Yes.
I can definitely see them doing that. If not, because I feel like that if they want to release the Pro, it would have to be at least next year, right?
I think they're going to at least mention it, right?
Yeah.
Announce it, but due to the shortage in new gaming consoles, I think they're gonna wait because they're like, we don't want to release this thing soon, and people are not going to be able to get it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to hold off until the market kind of, I mean,
they could do another Switch thing where they released it. What they announced it
2017, I think.
Yeah, they I know they announced it and then they released it like 4 months after, like a very short window. they can do the same thing. Like, like towards the end of this year, they'll announce it and then it'll release like Q1 of next year.
Yeah, but again, I think because of all the chip shortage,
Yeah.
especially, I think they're gonna hold off on announcing something like that, or at least like coming out with it, because the Nintendo Switch is still doing very strong, and
hmm
the Nintendo Switch Lite also, like, it's actually hard to find Switches, which is weird.
My
Like,
bet is, I'm gonna put the money right now. My bet is they will announce the Switch Pro, whatever they call it, by the end of this year.
okay,
That's it.
okay.